The history of education is going to open like a very old book now. Education is a way to learn about the world. Without education, people wouldn't know where they came from, their origins and beliefs. The history of education dates back to very ancient times when people used to draw at caves. Education in ancient Athens. Ancient Athens was the educational and cultural center of all Greece. The whole city was a large school where teachers, poets, philosophers and writers from all over the ancient world would come to exchange their views. In this way, through constant interaction, Athens rose to the top of the ancient world.
Proper education set the basis for the Athenian glory. The Athenian education aimed at the cultivation of the person's mental, physical and moral qualities. This educational system intended to shape healthy mind and healthy body. The first years of a child's life were completely dedicated to playing. At the age of 7, the child would start going to school. Although school was not obligatory, even the people of a lower economic background tried to provide their children with a basic education. Schooling was private and kids were educated at home.
The education in ancient Athens consisted of 3 basic courses. The first course, grammata, the letters, included reading, writing and arithmetics. When the children were considered skilled in language, they were introduced to poems. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey were of great importance to children's education. The second course consisted of singing and playing the lyre and the flute. The pupils were also taught history, geography and all the values of life. The third course was physical education. The lessons took place at the palestra, sport place, and the stadium, and helped children build their body in order to become strong and courageous.
Education in the Middle Ages. During the Middle Ages, the monasteries of the Roman Catholic Church were the centers of education. The method of learning was memorization, and the motivation for learning was the fear of strict punishment. The schools in Western Europe taught students to read Latin so that they could copy and keep the writings of the Church Fathers. Students learned the basic principles of mathematics and literature. Students in Middle Ages attended schools that were faceless and cold, and in many cases, the teachers were not appropriately qualified. Education in Middle Ages tried to take over the content of Greek education, often unsuccessfully. A very important disadvantage of the medieval education was that materials were few and poor. Because books were so few, lessons had to be dictated and then memorized.
The Renaissance. The essence of the Renaissance was a revolution against the Middle Ages. The early Renaissance humanists turned to the Greek ideals. Like the Greeks, they wanted education to develop the child's mental and physical powers. The pupils studied history, philosophy, arithmetics, geometry, music and astronomy, but the basis of the educational system was the study of Greek and Roman literature. Physical development was encouraged through exercise and games. Unfortunately, the humanist ideal did not affect the lower classes. 17th, 18th and 19th century. There were no signs of improvement in most schools during the 17th and 18th centuries. Generally, the teachers were unqualified, and the learning methods were based on memorization of facts. European schools in the 19th century were much like those of the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries. If the teacher could maintain order at all, it was by bullying or beating the children.
This picture shows African American education in the 19th century. The concern of some educators in the late 19th century for the education of the children eventually began to rise. One of the first to become interested in educating children previously considered incapable was Maria Montessori. She strongly believed that education would be achieved through the child's observation in an attractive environment. Her educational method is used today all over the world. In America, more than 5,000 schools use the Montessori method, and in China, more than 6,000 schools follow the Montessori system. Never help a child with a task at which he feels he can succeed. Maria Montessori.
What is Montessori? The Montessori method of education was developed by Dr. Maria Montessori. It is a child-centered educational method and is really successful throughout the world for more than 100 years. What's the difference between Montessori and traditional education? Under the age of 6, children should learn through all 5 senses, not just through listening and watching. They should be encouraged to learn their own pace and choose their own activities from many possibilities. Above age 6, children learn to do independent research and create group presentation. Much of the learning comes from sharing and inspiring each other instead of competing with each other. Montessori classrooms are designed to be attractive. So is the Montessori material, which encourages discovery through the senses.
Are Montessori children successful later in life? Research studies show that Montessori children are well prepared for later life. In addition to scoring well on tests, research revealed that Montessori children are successful in following directions, showing responsibility, and adapting to new situations. How can children learn if they're free to do whatever they want? Dr. Montessori observed that children are more motivated to learn when working on something on their own choice. A Montessori student may be free to choose his learning material, but the teacher is the one who prepares and presents the task to the child.
This year, Google, the internet search engine that connects you to virtually any information in the world, went public. And it was revenge of the nerds for the 2 men who started it all. On August 19th of this year, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the founders and owners of Google, were just very, very successful dot-com millionaires. Then Google, the internet search engine that connects you to virtually any information in the world, went public.
Google makes its long-awaited debut on Wall Street. The stock soared. It's a worldwide phenomenon, and that clearly helped it with investors.
And they became 2 of the richest young men in the world, worth over $6 billion each. They met at Stanford and were immediately drawn to one another.
We clicked in an interesting way at first. We found each other to be greatly obnoxious.
Both their fathers are college professors, but the Google guys don't credit their success to drive or brains. They say it was nursery school.
We both went to Montessori school, and I think it was part of that training of not following rules and orders and being self-motivated, questioning what's going on in the world, doing things a little bit different.
With over 100 million users making 250 million searches a day, who knows where Google and the Google guys will take us next.